Så mig croeso, hello and welcome to Pacifying with Auti Auri and friends. On this episode of Unmasking with Auti Auri, the new Rainbow cast, on this episode of Pacifying, my friend is Kristen, and here she is to introduce herself properly.
Hi, I'm Kristen, and I'm autistic, and I have an Instagram account, and I love it. I created my Instagram account to start healing my inner child, and I've been documenting my journey. I love to do little photo shoots and just express myself, especially with pacifiers. I enjoy creating makeup looks to go with them, and it has really helped me express myself, like my actual self versus when I was younger, I masked a lot. I masked my autism a lot, and I've been unmasking, and I feel like it's helped me a lot I've made so many lovely friends, and I feel like I'm finally able to, express myself fully.
Tell me a bit more about your autism and growing up being autistic and growing up masking your autism.
Yeah, I grew up undiagnosed autistic since I was a child, and I was around, 6, 7, I was originally tested for it, and they said I had some tendencies of autism, and they were like, "No, you're not autistic. You're not autistic." But found out that it was written in my paperwork from that evaluation. They put that I was autistic in it. And I grew up not knowing because they never told me, and I finally talk to a psychiatrist and they're like, "Have you ever thought that you're autistic?" And I'm like, "No, I really didn't think about that because I was also originally diagnosed with sensory processing disorder, and all throughout elementary school I had an IEP, and I switched to a 504 during middle school, so I've been in and out of special ed courses, and my cat decided to get down. So I've been in and out of special ed courses until I hit high school. It was hard. I didn't get the right accommodations during elementary school. They refused to give me the right assistance. My mom had to fight for me to actually get my assistance that I needed for elementary school. It wasn't until she talked to like the superintendent, I believe, to actually my needs met because the principal just flat out said no.
And what would you say growing up your autistic traits were and the things that they missed that you were autistic and the things that, were, as I said, were missed in your diagnosis and dismissed?
Yeah, a lot of the traits that I shown, my mom said when I was younger, I hated noise. That has been very present through my entire life. When I would go places, especially in public bathrooms, my mom would have to block the sensor because the sound would be way too loud for me. I was shutting down when I came home from elementary school with all the noise, and especially I remember going to assemblies and I'd have to leave and I'd had to block my ears because it was too loud for me. That was a big issue. And I had to be told beforehand if there was a fire alarm, like a fire drill, if they could
Yeah,
tell me because
yeah,
of the
that's something I
noise.
did relate to because, yeah, if you, like myself, I remember growing up, being quite anxious about it. And I was diagnosed around the age of 10 and understood more of my traits as anxiety, and I know he's understood yours as sensory processing issues. And I remember being quite anxious about fire alarms, and but I do relate to say wherever you got the playground or in school halls, the noise of children, it can be quite overwhelming to an autistic person. And
Mhm.
in that moment you can sit down, or it's just you feel like you need to remove yourself from that situation. And
Yeah.
so I can understand that. and relate to that exhaustion you feel at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was definitely I would come home from school and I would just break down completely. The teachers in my elementary school had no idea what I was dealing with because they were like, "Oh, she acts normal. She acts fine in class. I don't understand where this is coming from." The teachers were kind of like, "Oh, she's fine in school. Like she's learning, she's fine. Like she acts like a normal student." But when my mom would bring up those concerns because I acted so like normal, I guess, during
Yeah,
school, I acted so normal, but, like, when I get home, I completely shut down. I think I was using all of my energy to get through the day, to actually survive elementary school, to actually survive the days, and so when I got home, I just let everything out that I was holding in. Buddy,
because I
that I
can
was holding
understand, like, it would be quite, I think, in a way, like, I I think I relate in a way that like you mask because
in.
I think one thing I think growing up is you do fear like being like told off from a teacher or fear the idea of being acted out or seem to be different and you do and it's you do feel like sometimes I suppose maybe it's like a survival instinct or such
Yeah.
or like part of being autistic you try to blend in and act normal and try not to you go unnoticed, and I guess sometimes that is, I guess, what is maybe harder for a teacher, what the teachers fail to notice on it. And I guess from you, like you might relate to some of the anxiety around that causes that masking if you giving me.
Yeah, it was very difficult. Like, I would like you said, I would mask the entire day. I was more shy, like, during elementary school, but I think that shyness was just a mask so no one would think I'm, like, quote, unquote, "weird," even though, like, there wouldn't have been a big deal, but to me, like, it was terrible, and I think that definitely shaped me into who I am today because I've dropped that whole shy persona, I guess, and I'm definitely more outgoing now than I was when I was a kid. Yeah, it was very strange. And at one point, my mom took me out of elementary school and she homeschooled me for 2 years because I wasn't getting the proper support and I was just getting so overwhelmed. But I ended up going back to elementary school and back to public school during fourth grade. And I stayed in the public education system since then.
And what was that like returning from turning to the school system and mainstream school system after where you like a couple of years out to be home educated?
It was a really hard experience for me. I remember the first day, like very vividly, the first day I went back to fourth grade. I was led to the classroom by one of the other students, and he just showed me, and like that definitely stayed with me because he was kind to me. And oh, yeah, I have that class, let's go. And I remember stepping into that classroom and feeling so overwhelmed. And I felt like just so scared. It
Yeah.
was a lot. I had one friend during that, and that friendship ended up like staying for years with that one friend, and that friendship ended and ended up hurting me more than it helped me. It helped me during elementary school and middle school because I could cling to one person and just stay by their side and just let them like socialize like for not socialize for me, but I had that person that I could stick to and routine. Like, I don't remember much of 4th grade, or 5th grade. I remember bits and pieces, but I realized that, like, I don't remember a lot of my elementary school years besides, like, big moments, like the first day of 4th grade and, like, some of the meltdowns I had, but I don't have, like, gaps, especially from, like, midway 4th grade to I remember end of 5th grade, like, end of 4th grade, but, like, that middle chunk, I don't really remember, which is scary, and I realized that when I was talking to someone, and then they were like, "Oh, remember this in elementary school?" And I'm like, "What? What happened? What?"
Yeah, I can get that. I because I think it's just one of those things that if like it's happened a couple of years ago or 5 years ago, it's like you your brain starts to forget things, and like you can only remember highlights, even if those highlights are like negative or bad memories. But still, like it's like the things that stick out the most stay with you. But you'll find like loads of like gaps in memories because in school and sometimes in life, like days just become days a bit because
Yeah,
you get so many of those memories and whatever. And like how it's like easier to have a safe person and like a certain person you gravitate
yeah,
towards, especially if that's the person who like can introduce you to the class and introduce you to the group. And I think having that first impression does help a lot. And it's like it's like can feel, and it's just like that thing then being autistic can be, it's hard to make that small talk and make that
mm,
conversation how to start with friends, and know what to talk about. And I think, and it's like harder then to know how to like stick with the conversation and like knowing how to build an app because like growing up, we have loads of people in your class who talk a lot, and like a lot of children will have a lot of dramas or whatever, and a lot
yeah.
of conversation going around, and that can be in itself quite overwhelming and hard to navigate. So then that's kind of like a bit of a social barrier to making friends.
It was definitely difficult, I'd say, being autistic in a public school system, even though I had an IEP. But like you said, the social aspects, I hung on to like my one friend from childhood. And like I knew her way before fourth grade. I knew her like I knew her since kindergarten. And I clung to her because socializing with other people was scary. And you miss those social interactions when you're stuck with one person. And I was definitely more dependent on her to socialize, to be with other people. And I wish that I didn't cling on to her like that because I think she took advantage of that fact that I would always be by her side. So that even if like we had arguments or anything, I would always be like, oh yeah, you're right. Like I was wrong in that situation, even though it was clear as day that I wasn't. But having that close relationship got me through elementary school and it got me through that. And once I hit middle school, I didn't have an IEP anymore. Like I was okay, like, in not elementary school, in middle school. I hit middle school and I was doing very well with my education. Had a 504 plan. I could still leave assemblies early. I could leave assemblies early. I could, again, be aware of fire alarms and everything, but I definitely became more of my cat decided he wants to be a part of this conversation, that I realized that I could be someone else besides having her stuck to me. And I
Yeah,
think that was, oh, eye opening. Wow, maybe I can be like without her. And definitely it changed things a bit, I'd say. But being able to branch out versus just having that one friend helped me in more ways than I thought. I could be away from her. I could be like, "Oh, I can make my own friends." Then I have to rely on her, even though I still relied heavily on her. But I could actually branch out and make friends. Guess like bigger school, still scary, but being able to find more people like me, not like me, but who would want to be my friend and like we get along with me versus getting along with the two of us. We were like close. And so having to be able to separate myself and have my own friends that weren't her friends.
yeah. And I guess that maybe being at the impact of having those figures out then can make it probably make it maybe feel a bit out of practice or can make it hard to go back into environment and like I know to socialise and find the groups when I guess by that point loads of people kind of had like who they talking to and like had like the kind of social circles around in school kind of start to bond and grow.
Yeah. And it being able to grow and actually find my own footing was nice. But when I hit 7th grade, my mental health kind of went down. It was at that time when like things change. A lot of things changed at that time, and I my mental health went down. I had extreme anxiety. I was finally put on anxiety medications. I was put on depression medications, and after 7th grade was such a rough time for me, but I hit 8th grade and things got better. It definitely was a better year, like a better time for me. I hit 8th grade and I was like, okay, I'm finally figuring out like my footing after what I went through in like 7th grade. And I think that kind of impacted me more than I realized. Like being on medication for my anxiety and my depression, that helped those aspects. But I feel like I also was going into a good year, but I still masked so heavily. I was still like, okay, still gonna go back to my old ways, like being masked. And I'm masked like all through 8th grade and through high school as well. When
Yeah,
things Yeah, when high school
that
hit, you have to be like everybody else because if you're different in high school, oh, you're weird.
yeah, like I can definitely relate to the experience of having masked throat. Like, while, as I said, was elementary school in US, we call it primary school, like why, and high school, I masked myself, like it never told any like people I was close to or anyone in my class that I'm autistic, even though that I had like certain reasonable adjustments in place in school and laughing off naive people, like even if I have those adjustments and never talked about that area of myself and about being neurodivergent and about, I guess, to even like I suppose I was a bit anxious and panicky as such growing up. I wouldn't really find it easy, or I wouldn't find it at all hard, like easy at all to talk that about with people I was close to in school or anyone within my class. And I guess there was something like that for yourself.
Yeah, I definitely didn't talk like I had friends like when I went to high school, I had friends like but I didn't tell like I didn't really talk to people. I talked to people, but like you said, I didn't even know if I was autistic at that time and no one really knew besides like that one friend like who was really close to me. She knew like everything. She knew about like that I was diagnosed with sensory processing disorder. She knew like mostly pretty much everything because we were like that close from such a young age. And but like to other classmates, I was just like quiet. I didn't talk to people. I I didn't go to lunch. I ate and my high school had something called the 504 room and I had a 504 plan, so I was able to eat in that room. I didn't isolate myself on purpose, I just could not be around other people. It was really loud during lunchtime. I was just like I was alone, but there were like other teachers in there and I just really kind of liked the solitude and I liked to be by myself versus talking to all these people, and I was scared to show them my true personality versus like how I was like in school. Like I said, that very shy kind of persona. I just didn't talk to people. I'm pretty sure just people were like, oh yeah, like she doesn't talk, but I liked to just be alone, but it was also like I didn't have those normal high school experiences, like being super social, like going out with a ton of friends. I didn't really do that. I was in marching band, so I was had that experience and I had like people I knew there, but we were never like really close. Like we'd talk, but I never really had that close friendship like I did with that friend. Besides,
Yeah, yeah, I get that because even there's that thing of like, I guess, whether it's stereotype or like that idea that yeah, autistic people don't really tend to like small talk, but we do find that often, I guess, when we mask and all, when we find it hard to communicate, the conversation and the connections with people at most sometimes can be small talk or can be like smaller conversations, which I guess you can have with most people throughout high school again, which I tend to be relate with, like not really getting into many things with. And and I guess it's like that thing that I guess you never really had that space where you felt comfortable talking to people about what you was going through and stuff like that, as you already said. But and I guess it's like you needed like break times and lunch time to recharge your social batteries and recharge your energy because as I said, like in certain loud environments and sensory overload and that. So what would you say was your true personality at the time, and what you knew was your true personality in yourself that in an ideal situation you would start to unmask and show people, but like you felt it was essential to unmask and yeah, yeah, carry on.
Yeah, I even when I was with that close friend, I was still fully masked, but after high school and after that person stopped being my friend, I started to unmask and I started to like finally feel like I was me. I'm not that like shy person I was. I'm more very I can be outgoing with like people I know, like my friends, and definitely on my Instagram account, I'm very like I don't know. I feel a lot happier being unmasked. I can definitely ramble a lot about things I love. Just like having people who understand me is something that I thought I'd never have. Like some people who actually get me and just being able to do this, being able to talk about it and being able to like fully express myself with all like the childish, quote unquote childish things I like. Like there's no age limit for toys. There's no age limit for that. There's some of my special interests and being able to communicate that and be understood. And I think that's something that like has helped me find a community and for me to be able to like stem and being able to like just be me. And even my mom, I live at home, she's even noticed a change in my personality as well. She's yeah, you seem just a lot more like sure of yourself and just stuff like that. And I think I am more sure of myself and I know that I'm like me and that people don't really like care. I mean, they care, but, like, they don't care if I
Yeah,
stem or if I freely fidget or if I freely, like, being able to express myself
yeah, and like
versus
not judge you for it really.
yeah, not judged for who I am, and, like, I'm forever grateful for that, and it took that friend being cut off from me to actually being able to express myself and to have like my personality back and like finding that has been very difficult or something and to be able to express myself without having to hide, and I think that has been like the most special thing. Like I said, it's been very difficult since realizing that I masked so much and realizing that I missed out a bit on my childhood. I didn't miss out on my childhood, but I gave up my interests to please people. I was really into like Littlest Pet Shop. That was like one of my main special interests as a kid. And with that friend, she grew out of it. I didn't. Like, I'm like, oh, wait, what? You're supposed to grow out of these interests? You're supposed to stop playing? And I followed her lead. And I'm like, okay,
I
then
think
I'm just gonna stop. Like,
I think it's something that yeah, it's definitely the case with being autistic and well, and with very different neurodivergent conditions that it might not be like a thing that we grow out of, or it might be something that you've always been into and you always liked and we always gravitate towards. And it's not something that always interests change and differentiate from that time when, you know, you were a child. And it's, I guess, one thing that I guess made it hard for you growing up and makes it harder for a lot of autistic people growing up, especially when you're in like a mainstream education environment. You got
mm,
a group of people who are moving on from those childlike comforts and, what the things that, you used as a child and gone on to different trends and things that might not interest you. And that, I suppose, when you're having like getting into deeper conversations as children do, about things with like in popular culture or stuff like that, it's harder then to keep up on, and it's harder then to bring your own interests and like what brings a real smile to your face and what is your true self without them being disinterested.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that I gave up a lot of my interests as a kid because reconnecting with my interests now with everything I loved as a kid and reconnecting with it, I'm like, oh, like, why did I even give this up in the first place? But like you said, being in a mainstream public school and having to like fit in so you don't look childish, which is something that, like you said, a lot of autistic people go through because you want to fit in, you want to be in with not in with like friends, but you want to be able to be relatable and like liking something like like littlest pet shops when your friends don't. You're like, oh, okay, then to fit in, I have to sacrifice these things that I love to fit in, which is sad that
Yeah,
having to
definitely.
like do that.
The other things that, are like are your interests or the things that once you like exploring more of the things that I guess once you like I suppose I said, like kind of forced away from, and then you kind of start to re-engage with things from your childhood that you miss, all those other things that you're able to regain.
Yeah, it's nice to like re-engage, like I said. That's the whole reason why I started my account was to re-engage into my interests again. Like I keep bringing up Little Pet Shop because I have a pile over here, and like that, and just toys in general, and American Girl dolls, and just like really being able to immerse myself into the things that I loved as a child, and being able to do that freely, and being able to show my interests, and feeling wow, I can show these, and people think it's cool, and people there are other people who are doing the same thing, and I'm kind of like, wow, that's a special connection a bit because seeing
Yeah.
other people being able to so freely love those things, and I'm like, wait, like I can do that. Like I can learn how to do that again.
Yeah. So you, like you said, you love toys and you love to play with, you enjoy playing. And what are the other things that you like regained or re-engaged with that other people might see as childlike? What are the other things that you have engaged with?
Like I said, I've re-engaged with all those pet shops. I found like my childhood ones. I've re-engaged with just with coloring, and I colored wrote like you can color at any age, but coloring in specifically like childlike coloring books, and being like, wow, not do that. Can you not? Thank you. My cat is doing something you're not supposed to, and being able, like I said, I love coloring. I love American Girl. I love setting up just little play scenes, being able to like with miniatures and setting up little scenes. I love to do that. I love just anything that like makes me feel like a kid again. And my cat. And one of my biggest things right now is American Girl dolls. I love dressing them. I love just playing with them and just being able to be like, okay, like this is nice, like winding down time. I'm really into watching like the old school Barbie movies. I've been doing that a lot and I love it. And just being able to like see those again. And also, I rebought one of my childhood Lala Loopsy dolls that I had as a kid who I loved, and just being able to reconnect and just being able to realize and like being able to find these toys again, being like, wow, I love that in my childhood, and being able
Yeah.
to love it now.
I know, like, you explored some of the activities, things you like to make play scenes, engage with toys and colourings, that, things that you enjoyed from childhood. But are there any other things that like that get allow you to have the space to be engaged with childlike things or like certain comfort items and certain things that also you find your comfort yourself with and you like to share about on your social media channels.
Yeah. I one of my favorite things currently, this isn't, but I love to do photo shoots and I love to match my makeup with whatever I'm doing. Makeup has always been a lifelong special interest for me, and I never had to reconnect with that because it's always been with me. I've always loved makeup, and being able to express myself with my makeup matching my whatever I'm wearing and matching things that I do on Instagram, like those little shoots. And that's like my favorite thing to post is about that. And I do share a lot on my social media about inner child, like I said, inner child healing. And one of the things that either helped my account or kind of didn't help it. One of my reels that I posted with a pacifier, it was my Milo Pony one, and that accidentally got a lot of traction, and I got a lot of love from that post being like, hey, I use adult pacifiers. But then it also came with a lot of negativity, being
Yeah,
like, that's weird, and just slurs that were thrown at me, being like, "Oh, you're a child. Oh, grow up. It's childish." Just being called things that weren't nice. But it's also that video that got me talking about adult pacifiers. That's the one thing that I got to talk about on
yeah,
my.
yeah, I got a few things I want to ask about that, but I want to start about what made you want to re-engage and try using adult pacifiers.
I what kind of got me into all of this is I was on YouTube one day and I got recommended something about age regression and like little space, and I watched the video and I'm like, "Oh, like that's cool." And I looked up adult pacifiers. I went on Instagram and I looked up like what an adult pacifier is. I've always been, ever since I was little, I've been someone to like chew on things and just have to have either chewing on my shirt, having like little toys that I could like bite, like jewelry. That's something I used a lot growing up. And I'm like, okay, what's an adult pacifier? Because I'm like, okay, like what is that? And I looked more into it and I found a shop and then I found the Deco Passies and I found all those and I'm like, okay, this is cool. And so I started following more people and I started following more shops. And I decided, okay, I want to see how this works because I love, like I said, I have oral like fixation and
Yeah,
I need something to keep my mouth busy. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy one. And I did. And I ended up loving it. And I was kind of like, okay, like this is a good way. And that's what got me into them because I'm like, okay, this is a tool that exists. I'm like, why not use it? Why not try one? Because if I try one and I don't like it, it's fine. But I ended up loving it. And I'm very glad that I found it and how I accidentally stumbled upon it and I love them. Like I love to use them. And it's definitely helped me stop. Like I pick at my fingers, I pick at anything, so that's gotten me to stop picking and to draw myself away, and it's also just really soothing and relaxing
yeah,
and, like, in not and it helps that whole oral fixation, so I'm not, like, either picking at my fingernails, biting at them, and it gets it away from my hands and onto something more soothing, and it's very calming for me using one. It's a nice way to, like, wind down and to just be more relaxed and less picking or like less kind of fidgety or
yeah.
anxiousness. And it's
I
just
get
very nice.
Yeah, I get that because if you're stimming on one thing, can maybe reduce the stimming on other things, and because it's designed to be quick, calming, and soothing, and that's all it's been designed for. It's something that might calm the rest of the body, so then you might feel a bit more relaxed and less likely to pick at nails or whatever. And sometimes you do that when you're bored, or
Mhm.
or it's like a bit tiny bit anxious or stressed. So definitely can help with that. And so what was it like then? Would you know how you found them and what got you into it. But what was has the experience of using them? Do you like find you use them exclusively in your bedroom, or is it like something that if you like you post how you use them, is it something that you've wanted to use other places as well?
Yeah, I definitely use them more in my bedroom, and I've not incorporated it, but I know when I need to relax and be comfortable, I use it, and I got a lot more comfortable with it, and I decided to bring it to social not bring it to social media. I decided to like, hey, other people show them, I'm gonna show them. And I did. And I got a lot of good feedback, and I'm like, okay, let me embrace this part of myself. Because I used to be a little bit ashamed of using one, but now I'm like, okay, I don't need to feel the shame because it's something that helps me and it's something that relaxes me, especially like I use them more towards like when I want to relax. If I'm watching a movie or like something in my room, I'll use it, and it's soothing and being able to like wind down and to relax my brain and to relax my body and being able to
Yeah.
like have that relaxation from being separate from like the stressful day that I've had, or like the stress or the anxiety, or just like being able to relax with it and being able to like, oh, like I have something to help me.
And what was it like when you like posted it on it? So you said you had some positive reaction, but you said you had some negative reaction about like people judging it, thinking it's like bad for your teeth and it's only for children and oh that isn't that weird and all that. And like I seen like the comments before, you like had some really like positive ones and you had some really negative ones in different areas and that can be quite a lot, and it can be quite upset, distressing to see, and it's just it's not kind enough, and it's quite, and it's very rude for people to comment that. So, how was it like for you to be dealing with that?
It was a lot. I like leading up to that, I was just doing photo shoots, but I made a reel and it was joking. It was like a joking reel. And the text, like the audio is like, I don't want to be friends. And the text is like, people in the text, I forget what the text was, but it was joking me like, yeah, I don't want friends who like judge adult pacifiers. And that reel ended up getting 1.8 million views. And I got flooded with hate. I have had issues with my teeth since I was like a child. I've always had issues and they've always been like crooked. So I've never had perfect teeth to begin with. And I got so many comments saying, this is why your teeth are like that. This is why your this is why your teeth look like that. You're making your teeth worse. You're gonna mess up your teeth. This is why your teeth look like that. And it hurt a lot. I tried not to let it affect me, but having so many people pick on my appearance just for my teeth aren't right and just blaming a pacifier, I had people like saying, this is childish, like, this is for children. I got one comment saying, I wouldn't let my children near you. You're weird, basically, like saying, like, just cruel and hurtful things. I got flooded with that. And it was definitely hard. My video ended up getting stolen, and this woman who wasn't even a dentist picked apart my teeth, saying I have a I forget what she said, like I have an underbite, and this is why her teeth look like
Yeah,
that
I
because of the
remember seeing
passy.
that. I remember seeing that video, and I think it might have notified you about it because, like, I remember like that woman posted it a few times, and yeah, it was yeah, like she almost came across as dentist or like a dental expert. I don't know much about her or her profile, but I know like she was some like her profile was some sort of influence account, and it might be being like in a dental sphere, as you said, wasn't a like a proper dentist herself, but she's somebody that like, used you as an example and as a bad example to treat you as something that should be shown as a lesson, which I found must have been is quite a horrible thing to do with, especially without somebody's consent, because it goes back to the kind of initial shame that you felt that years when you first started or first apprehensive about using them or like sharing them on social media at first. And I guess it's something that might have reinforced that feeling or made you feel more like that because it's one thing again, one or two nasty comments and that can hurt. But then when you got millions of people who have seen that video and you've got like thousands of comments and like people stealing that video and comment like making a video about how it's bad for chief and all that, it must have felt quite embarrassing and quite hard on your own mental health.
Yeah, that definitely affected me a lot mentally, and it the fact that so many people were flooding my comments, but having my video taken and being, like, judged by a person who doesn't have a degree or anything, and that kind of really took a toll on my mental health, along with all the hate comments and everything. In my comments section, I limited my comments for a bit of time, so, like, people couldn't comment. I ended up privating my account because for a short while because I was just it affected me a lot mentally, being like, "Okay, like, a bunch of people are, like, picking on me and picking on my teeth and just everything." That definitely took a lot, and it was just a very hard experience. I was told some awful things in that comment section, and I'm like, "You know what? I'm not gonna let this kind of control me." And I ended up making my account not positive, public again after a while after I recovered from that. And I can continue to post with pacifiers because I'm like, at the end of the day, people are gonna hate on me. They're gonna do whatever they want. I know that you can't, yes, I'm gonna have these people. Thankfully, I don't have those comments anymore,
That's
like
good
once
to
in a
hear.
blue moon. But I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna make my account public. Like, I made this account for me. I'm not gonna let other people like stop me. And like I said, it definitely took a toll on me mentally. I made 3 posts because I saw this trend and it was like bring back bullying trend. And I ended up
Mm.
making 3 posts about the hate comments that I was getting and the amount. I just did it just for awareness because I saw like people posting, "Oh yeah, bring back bullying," and I ended up getting that in my comment section saying, "She's why we need to bring back bullying." And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna turn this into an awareness post, and I did. And the amount of love I got on that post, it replaced all that hate. And eventually, I was like, okay, like, I have so many people who are supportive in my comment section, and I'm like, "You know what? I'm gonna turn this into a different light." I'm gonna end up because I ended up, like I said, making those posts and bringing awareness to bullying and to the comments that I've gotten, and yeah, that definitely helped me making those posts, but it take like I said, it took a toll on me mentally as well, but being able to turn it into not a good thing, but an
Yeah.
awareness thing.
But yeah, like something that I guess it's a food that the police them in and were targeted you with like hate and these nasty stuff weren't gonna win and you were like actually being proud of who you are and
Mhm.
not letting that ruin what good thing you had going before those comments began and all that happened. So what things that people need to be aware of and what things that with that video that for people who misunderstand the use of pacifiers like items, what do you think people need to know about it?
I think people need to know first off that their comments hurt. If you're gonna comment on somebody's posts, don't be mean. I guess that's easier said than done. And I think people need to understand about adult pacifiers is that they are made for adults. I've gotten that comment so many times on like videos that I made after, and they're like, "Oh, you're using a passy that's gonna damage your teeth. They're for babies." And I'm like, "These are adult pacifiers. People need to understand that these are made for adults and that people cope in different ways. Using a pacifier isn't weird. It's not bad. It's not as weird as you think it is. Like, it's not just think of it as like a different tool, but I don't think people should think of it as bad or as weird or creepy. And it's something that genuinely helps people. And people who use them aren't doing anything wrong. They're not hurting you. You don't have to engage in people in posts about adult pacifiers. No one's forcing you to. But at the end of the day, just keep an open mind to things that you deem are weird. And if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say it at all. And just understand that people use different things as coping mechanisms or just for fun. Like, people use different things. And
And
it's just,
especially it's something that can help autistic or
mhm.
neurodivergent and people who have anxiety, trauma, and as like highlighted before in this podcast, it's helped people that have like dissociative identity disorders and CPTSD. And what would you say, like, to people that, maybe need to understand about how we can benefit an autistic person? What are the things that you would tell them about how it can help you as an autistic person? How would you explain how it helps yourself?
I would say it definitely, like you said, it definitely helps people who have other things as well. But for me personally, like, it's just a way to stem and cope, especially like with the adult pacifier. And it's just something that I used to cope with, not cope, but it's just something that helps me relax and stem. And at the end of the day, that's what I use it for, as like a way to stem. And I think that it's important for people not to judge other people. If it's a way to help someone like who's autistic like me and who's just let people cope.
Yeah. Did you find it something that, like, your family and friends have helped you with through the negative comments and through any difficulties you've experienced about how people perceive them, you using pacifiers? Have they been able to help you through like, in the mental health side of things?
Yeah, my mom has been the biggest supporter for me. She was like, "Yeah, try something." She didn't judge me at all. She's, "Oh, that makes sense. Like, you should definitely, if you think it's gonna help you, try it." And one of my friends, she actually follows my account, so she knows that I use pacifiers. And so that was like, she doesn't judge me. She follows my account, like my friend, and she follows my account. So that's something I don't have to explain to her. And I'm she's one of my closest friends, and she's like the only like other person who knows besides my mom. With my social media being public, I guess any of my family members could find it. And that's the thing with being public on Instagram, but I don't really care anymore. I remember when one of my family members, my aunt, liked my reel, and I'm like, oh my God, my aunt liked my reel with the pacifier. What's she's gonna think? And my mom's, she's cool. She's not gonna judge you for it. And we went to her house and she didn't even mention it. I feel like it's not something that I have to explain to other people, like my close family. And I know that my family, who is the closest to me, are gonna support me. And since my only really family is like my mom and my aunt and like my uncle, like those are the only family members who are like really close to me. And I don't really care if they find out. Like, my mom knows, my aunt knows, my friend knows. If like my dad's side of the family ends up finding my Instagram, I just don't care at this point. I'm not exactly close with them. And I don't really, at the end of the day, I don't really care what they think. They're not the one using it.
Yeah,
I
like
am.
since you, like don't have that sense of care and carefree about it, would you wish to be able to explore this side of yourself with and use the pacifier in front of people who will like don't care and already like support you using it.
Yeah, I typically just use it at home. I wouldn't go necessarily out in public with it, but I wouldn't really like I said, my Instagram being public, I use it a lot. Like I've showed it on my stories. It's all over my Instagram, but I don't think I would like use it outside of my house or say if I do go to my aunt's, I wouldn't necessarily bring it with me. That's more something that's more personal for me and
Yeah.
but like I said, uh I typically just use it at home just to bring comfort, but I do use it around my house. Like my mom lives with me, like that's it, and my cats, and like I'll use it at home. And yeah, I'm not really like ashamed to walk around with it, especially if I'm just home with my mom. I don't have a lot of people over a lot, so it's not like something that I'm like, oh, not really something I have
Yeah.
to hide at home. And like I said, I wouldn't necessarily bring it to my aunt's or like outside because it's just something like I'm not comfortable with. But
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of using one, but it's just not something like I'm comfortable with taking it out of the house.
Yeah.
But I'm able to like use it here. Not no one judges me.
Yeah.
My cat doesn't judge me. My mom doesn't judge me.
Yeah.
But
And you feel comfortable in exploring it within the online space, but it's something, yeah, I do understand. It feels like a kind of another step or another dimension, like being more out in public with it. Yeah, and I understand that part. So, like, aren't people who comment on like the dental and oral hygiene of the use of one, or is it something that you found either like a dentist comment on, or is it like on you what to the criticism of when people say, "Oh, it's bad for your teeth"? What would you like say to them about that?
I've made like a video on this on my page. It doesn't affect my teeth, and I think people like to think that I use it 24/7. I feel like people don't understand that I don't use one 24/7. There's nothing wrong with using a pacifier if you use it more out throughout the day, but that's not something I do. I feel like people are like, "Oh, use a pacifier, use it all day." And I don't, and I haven't had any teeth move. I haven't had any bad experiences with it. And I think, and I've tried to explain that like my teeth look like this due to childhood and due to like my teeth crowding. I've always had issues with my teeth. It's just been something that has happened, like I said, throughout my life. And that's how I explain it. My teeth have looked like this since I was a kid. Like they're not getting worse. They're just my teeth. It's just kind of something that I have to deal with, like my teeth looking like this and how my teeth have formed. And I feel like so many people have been quick to tell me, go get braces. And I'm like, that one, that's expensive. And two, I'm not gonna go out and spend a bunch of money on braces that I don't even know would even help me in the long run. And like the pacifiers, they don't affect my teeth. If it did start to affect my teeth, obviously I would stop using it, but it hasn't, and I don't think it will. It's just like I said, my teeth are something I deal with. And I feel like people, no matter how many times they say my teeth has looked like this since I was a child, people don't understand.
The thing is, like, I do think, like, having a, like, the quote unquote perfect smile, that isn't, like, unhelpful and can be quite a harmful aim for people because, like, people can expect to have, like, the same looking teeth. And, like, thing is, if you're happy with your teeth, you're happy with your teeth. Your teeth are healthy and, like, if your teeth aren't in pain and there's nothing really hurting about them, then that isn't a problem. And I think that's what people need to understand is that teeth and sometimes teeth look different and won't
Yeah.
always look that kind of perfect image of what people aspire for teeth to look like, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, people think, oh, you have to like the perfect smile, your teeth have to be perfectly straight, and if they're not perfectly straight, you just have bad teeth. And I feel like that is just a misconception that like everyone has perfect teeth. Is that something that like people have to get through their heads? Kind of not everyone has perfect teeth, not everyone has that perfect straight teeth, bright white. No, that's not something that actual humans have. Not everyone is going to have perfectly straight teeth. And just because you see that in the media and you see that everywhere, but then you like stumble upon me and I have holding a pacifier and my teeth are crooked, you automatically assume that like it's the pacifier, but my teeth are just the way that they are. And I feel like people just need to understand that teeth come in all different ways and that in the end, nobody's perfect. Nobody's face is perfect. Nobody's teeth is perfect. And I feel like people just need to understand that and just stop judging people for their teeth.
And like one thing you said here earlier on, you like stumbled on a video of little space and age regression, I think you said about. Would you like say you like identify with being an age regress or having a little space or where would because you like I guess you made friends and connections within that community. So where would you say you place within that and how would you do you feel you identify as?
I don't really age regress per se. I'm more like just have a little space. Like
Yeah.
I age kind of like age dreaming, not fully being in that younger state, but like just being able to fully relax and being able to like enter that childlike space and being able to be like I said, enter that younger mind state and being able to like just relax and just being able I think that's what I'd call myself. I'm just yeah, I think I definitely do have a little space. I'm not necessarily an age regressor. I just like to hang out in that kind of
Yeah.
space. I've made friends who are age regressors, who are just age dreamers, just any of that. I'm supportive of all communities. And as long as like you're 18 plus, you're not hurting anyone.
Yeah.
I
Like
don't judge
respecting
people.
yourself. As
Yeah.
long as people respect you and or like meet with your like, kind of like rules of like how to talk to you and what you find is appropriate and inappropriate of to speak to you because yeah there can be some instance of certain accounts where people may even if they are non-sexual like your own
Mhm.
you probably can get some messages that you find inappropriate and that you don't feel comfortable with and it's always for people to understand those kind of like things. Yeah,
Yeah. Like I said, I'm non-sexual.
yeah,
I don't like people coming into my DMs asking to be my caregiver. That is not something I want. Like I said, I respect like all communities. Just be safe
yeah.
and don't judge other people. I'm not quick to judge, and a lot of people who are sexual accounts, they're private. And I know that there's a lot of controversy in the age regression community, and I know that, but I just want, as long as you don't sexualize me and you don't sexualize like age regression as like that mindset, then I guess like you can do you. I don't really judge, I guess, like ABDL. I don't judge those people. I know a lot of people, like I said, in the age regression community, as long as you respect me and you don't cross my boundaries, I'm gonna respect you and respect your boundaries. And just it just yeah.
Yeah, got you. And like I can see within you the room you're in now, like you got some of your like little space items. Do you want to tell me of if you can like show some of the items you want maybe would share with viewers of your own little spaces like
My own little space is very, I don't know how to describe it. It's very safe. I, when, if I'm having like a little day or just a day to decompress like that, it's definitely just safe. I love anything like just to fully relax and to engage. I'll watch movies, like childlike movies and just like coloring and sticker books. And that's like how my little space looks, but on my Instagram account obviously looks different. I do a lot of different photo shoots with obviously, like I said, non-sexual. They're always
yeah.
just with pacifiers and I like a onesie. I don't feel comfortable just being in the onesie. I always wear a skirt. It's just my preference. And how it looks on my account just represents me, I guess.
I can tell within your background, like you do, you kind of got like some of that creative, like it's details. And so, yeah, I can see like you painted like a meow in the background, and I guess that's expressing your own personality. So, like or maybe people who listening to some podcast on the podcast, you want to describe of like certain things within your little space within your room, that what type of like things they are added for, and that can express the sides of your personality.
Yeah, I also like in my room, I have all my American Girl dolls. If I'm gonna have a day like that, I set up my bed with all my stuffed animals and I make my bed and just to have that space. But I've recently gotten like a play tent that's out in my living room. That's where we're keeping it for now because we have a small place. And that's where I've recently also started to take pictures. I have a little play oven, but it came with like a different toy. I have play food in there. I have just a bunch of soft stuff. I have blocks, just different activities. And that's where another place I take in my content is in my little tent. And I mostly either have been taking them in my room, like setting up the background, like just setting up everything like nice. And I think that I will be like focusing more on my play tent because it's pink and I like pink. And I'm trying to have another space where like I can be not enclosed, but I can hang out and have different things in there and have more space than I do in my room. My cat wants to chime in, and I can have like more things out there if I want to just be out of my room and maybe be in my tent and being able to just sit there and watch movies like either on my iPad or on my portable DVD player. I also have that little space that I can be in there too. And I also have stuff, like I said, by my bed that I keep sticker books by my bed. I keep fidget toys by my bed, coloring books, like coloring supplies, just to have those things near me and just to be like, okay, I need to like relax. I have it like right there next to me.
You think that you have your favourite stuff, your favourite pacifier?
My current favorite pacifier is my Land of Genie one. I It has a little carousel on it, and I love that one currently. And my favorite stuffed animal has to be my Sid the Sloth Build-A-Bear stuffed animal. I've had that
When you
forever.
feel free to show we're on camera if you want, or you don't have to. But
I can show him. I don't know what he is. Wait. I also have my pacifier in here. Where is it? Aha. My cat my cat enjoys eating things. So this is my favorite pacifier at the moment. It's very cute. I love it. I've been using this a lot recently because it's smaller and I love it a lot. And no, don't eat that. And then my favorite stuffy is my Sid the Sloth, wherever he is. He is old. This is my favorite stuffed animal. He's very old and very floppy. He's my
yeah,
favorite. Very
you can tell
floppy.
he's pretty old, yeah.
Yeah, he's old. He's one of my favorites. Ice Age is my favorite movie. So, my little dude. Those two are my current favorite things at the moment. I always have I always have my passy hidden from this one because he likes to eat things. But I always have one in my room, and then I always have my stuffed animals. And I guess he counts, but he has to be everywhere with me, so he's just a special one. But yeah, those are the things that like bring me comfort the most.
I'm just wondering if you got anything you wanted to say, or if I haven't had a chance to say.
I think I've said pretty much everything, and I think I've said pretty much everything, like how I got into this. I got into inner child healing, like I said, by accident. I've always been a childish person, but I got into the little space side, like I said, by accident after going on finding something on YouTube, and not I looked into it more, like I said, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Maybe I should explore this. And that's what I did. And I followed so many different creators that I love. And I think just having my account and following these creators has just really strengthened that. Oh, this is like fun. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm very happy that I took that step to make my account. And I think that without it, I would be like, I would still do inner child healing stuff, but I wouldn't have been in this community. I would have made a bunch of friends and I wouldn't be on this podcast like right now without
Yeah.
making that account. And I'm glad I stayed
And
throughout
what,
the time. I'd say to anyone who wants to start inner child healing or get a little space, anything like that, just go for it. If you want to start your collection of toys or something, or fall in love with that one childhood interest you love as a kid, just go for it. And don't let other people's opinions affect you. Because at the end of the day, you're doing what you want to do. If you want to heal your inner child, you're not hurting anyone, you're not hurting yourself. You just want to be able to like have that escape and to be able to just love the things you love. And like I said, at the end of the day, like if you love what you do and you love toys and you love embracing your inner child, then go for it. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at beanieboo_15. I also have a Patreon. My Patreon goes more like in depth about my personal experience with autism and ways that just things I'm not comfortable sharing online. Of course, it's safe for work. Don't do anything of
yeah,
that. My Patreon is for people who kind of want to know more deeper about my story and about just yeah, like I said, deeper about my story and more of why I'm doing this. I explain it the best I can on social media, but there's just some things
yeah,
that I'd rather keep.
I get that. Diolch and thank you to this episode's friend of the podcast, which is Kristen. Thank you for Kristen for being my friend on this episode of Pacifying and Friends. Next time on Pacifying and Friends, my friend will be Lily Benny. Uh, she, she'll be chatting to me about her autism, age regression, and the dynamic between age regression and skill regression. In addition to the chat, the chapter will be discussing about her stimming love for pets and animals. But next, on the next podcast episode, in the Unmasking with Auti Auri feeding on the YouTube channel, you'll be able to find an episode where I'll be chatting to a guest, exploring Tourette syndrome and giving slight bit of a deep dive on that. Quite a brief episode it will be, but compared to normal, but it'll be quite an opening episode, eye-opening episode on something that we haven't really touched on before, or touched on as much as Tourette syndrome, and touching on it, I felt like it's something important to do, especially after the BAFTAs incident, and to have like do a bit more awareness and education around that. So the guest on that episode will be the DJ and radio presenter and producer, Versatile, chatting about her own Tourette syndrome and the diagnosis of that, and how you can follow the podcast and contact us. So will be found via the episode description. You can find that at as well, a bit more about that at newerrainbowproject.com. But for now, thank you for tuning in to and watching this episode, or listening to this episode if you listen via the podcast feeds on your podcasting platforms. Remember, like, subscribe, give this a positive review on your podcasting platforms, or, give this a positive comment on YouTube. Share this with other people who you think may like this episode, and give us a follow on social media as well if you liked what you heard. So thank you again for tuning in, and hope to see you next time on this podcast.